gamers, we're back with emergency tier list, and I'm here post-patch, post-tournament to give you guys a little update. But before we get started, of course I want to do the gold tier list first. As always, whatever you're playing is D tier, whatever your opponent's playing is S tier, and it needs a nerf. Now that we got that out of the way, let's do a tier list for top level gaming in my professional opinion. We will start with Jushi's Legacy. It used to be here. Now it's here. Boom. It got nerfed pretty badly. Meditation Gardens got hit pretty hard. The Song Dynasty got hit pretty hard. The biggest strength from Jushi's Legacy, in my opinion, was how strong their eco was. And their eco is still strong. You have strong farm transition. But right now, it's just not that good, in my opinion. I think it's medium. You know what I mean? It's okay. It's not bad. It's not OP. It's there. Yeah, I do think that the nerfs definitely did Jushi not bad, but they did deserve a nerf. But I think... yeah, they got clapped pretty hard, to say the least. So, that's it. And it might not seem like a lot, like Meditation Garden nerf, but it gave you so many resources for free that it just adds up over time quite a bit. So, I think it's still a good civ, just not that great. The next one we'll be talking about is Abbasid. Funnily enough, Abbasid got nerfed in the last patch, because apparently there was like a thing that gave you like 20% gathering or something, but it actually gave you 30%. So they fixed that, so technically they got nerfed even though the bug was fixed. But yeah, Abbasid still D tier for the same reasons as always. I think it's a good civ once you get to Castle, once you get to Imperial, but at the top level gameplay it's very hard to get there without being like disadvantaged or being behind, or it is what it is. The S tier. Let's give one S tier civ. Otto Chad. The only reason why Ottoman was not in S tier last patch is the fact that Jushi Legacy was a lot better than anything else. But now that Jushi Legacy has been nerfed, Ottoman is the best civ by far. Or not the... well, it's one of the best civs, right? We might have multiple in S tier, but I think it's a really, really strong civ. I do think that in the future, on the chopping block, I got no info, but probably will be Ottoman nerfs. They just have way too many things that are too strong. Like they have Sipahi, which is, in my opinion, the best cavalry horseman unit type in the game. They have Janissaries, which are absolutely nuts. They have Great Bombards, which in the last patch actually received indirect buff, because now it takes more sprinkle shots to kill them. I think it takes 10 from 8. Then Rams got nerfed, which Ottomans didn't really use Rams in their pushes. They used Great Bombards. So other civs basically pushes got nerfed, but not theirs. And yeah, I just don't think that Ottoman has any, like... I'm trying to think what's like the worst matchup for Ottoman. I think Delhi is not a good matchup for Ottoman early on. I think Delhi can put a lot of pressure. English potentially, but in general, Ottoman is a really, really, really good civ. And that's a good point. The siege rework not only extends to like Great Bombers and Rams, but also when you reach Castle, you get a free Mangonel. Well, that Mangonel now takes 3 shots from Sprinkle to kill, which is probably the biggest buff to Ottoman because you get siege automatically. There's a lot of indirect buffing happening in the last patch to Ottoman, but also even without those things, they would be S tier in my opinion. The next civ we'll be talking about is going to be French, and I'm gonna put French in... I'm gonna put him in C tier. I think French is not as bad as Abbasid, simply because you do have the potential to 1 TC all in, you do have the potential to 2 TC, you know, going to Feudal, Castle, and Imperial, you do have more possibilities that you can do and easier transitions. So while it's not the best, I don't think it's quite as bad as Abbasid. All right, the next civ we'll be talking about is going to be, I'll have in mind hybrid maps, but I'm going to mainly focus on the land maps. How about that? Mongol A tier. Now, why is Mongol A tier? Mongol, in my opinion, is actually the best tournament civ, potentially. The reason for that is it's so strong on some of the maps that it either needs to be banned or picked. Like, you cannot leave them open. So maps like Prairie, Mongol absolutely dominates. Now, you can play Mongol on other maps, you know, like Cliffside or Dry Arabia. They're not as good there, but you can play them. But on the maps that they're good, they're really, really, really good. And I think it's just a great tournament civ. Puts a lot of pressure on your opponent very, very early. And Mongol received indirect massive buff, by the way, that I did not even consider when I did the patch review. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Mongol actually got no changes. Or no, they're like improved wheelbarrow got buffed, but they got no changes. But when Ram got nerfed to less health and 20% more damage from melee units, you know when you do a tower rush and the enemy builds a Ram and then they destroy your tower, and it's like, even if you try to prevent it with your 5 spears, you can't really prevent it. Like, the tower will be on fire and it's slowly gonna die. You can now kill a Ram even with archers there. So I've had a game against Mongols and I've had a game with Mongols where I was making a Ram or the opponent was making a Ram towards the tower. And if you take out your spears from a tower, hit the Ram, go back in, take them out, hit the Ram, you will actually kill the Ram before the tower is set on fire. And when I did the patch, like I said, I didn't even consider this, but it's actually massive. And it's so difficult now to deal with Mongol tower rush. The option of a Ram is not really there. Like, it's just shit, to be honest. And you cannot spend 250 resources to not kill a tower. Like, you have to kill a tower and you have to clean it up. So yeah. Next civ we'll be talking about is going to be Japanese. I don't think it's that good of a civ. I'm out here. I'm sorry. On water, great civ. Hybrid map, thumbs up. Although their Shinobi did receive a nerf, where the Shinobi does not spawn for free anymore, but instead, once the landmark is completed, the Shinobi will come for free after 30 seconds. So they did receive a nerf on hybrid maps. They're still good on hybrid maps. They're not terrible. But land maps, you know, we've seen some cooking. I've tried to make a castle rush guide, and I was struggling. Like, even when I made it work, it was just a struggle. It did not feel good. It did not feel natural to do that. And, you know, some players have been cooking with like castle rush into mass onas and stuff like that. I think Japanese is just a very cheesy civ right now. Now, this might change because recently their bannermen had a lot of damage issues where they either didn't work properly, or for ona mushas, which are their cavalry crossbow things, it didn't apply the damage. So people are still just massing melee units, and I haven't seen anyone try, you know, something with onamushas, but maybe they're better now, maybe they're playable. But like I said, I've played the Japanese civ a lot, and the best way to play it right now is to do a castle rush into mass ona Bugattis, as I like to call them, and just completely overwhelm your opponent. Other than that, it seems pretty meh. Even their late game doesn't seem that great anymore. The mass samurai, I feel like people kind of figured out what to do, how to play against it, so not very impressed. The next civ we'll be talking about is going to be Order of the Dragon. I feel like I need another row here. Yeah, let's go like that. I feel like I need a C+ there. I think Order of the Dragon, I've been playing a lot with it. Recently, it has received buffs. The biggest problem with OTD, I would say, is Feudal Age still, because it gets outmassed quite easily. Now, if you get in a position where you're like 2 TC and you're pumping units and everything is great, it's okay. But I do think that you get outmassed very, very easily by your opponents. Now, I have played OTD in recent tournaments, and I went 2-1 versus like the top players. I don't think it's a bad civ. I just think that because you have basically half the units and your units are twice as expensive, if you lose any units, it's really bad. You know, like any units. I'm talking prelate, I'm talking villagers, I'm talking like spearmen, archers, horsemen, knights. Like if you make a knight in castle and you lose it, it's like, I feel like game's over. I just don't think it's that great when you don't play it very, very good at the top level. And I haven't seen any other pro player except me play OTD, and I mean, there's probably a reason for it. But I do think that it's not a bad civ necessarily, but I can't put it next to Jushi's Legacy. That'd be a destruction. Next civ we'll be talking about is going to be Holy Roman Empire. Now, I might be biased here, and I probably am. Now, I'm going to put HRE lower. I think, this is a really hard one. Let's put it here for now, okay? Let's put it here for now. I think HRE is very similar to OTD. I think HRE has some really strong maps. Like it can be played on water maps. Recently in the tournament, I've played it 3 times on Frisian Marches, which is a very good HRE map. But most of the maps I feel like for HRE are not that great, or they're too open and you kind of struggle a little bit here and there. But if you get out of that early stage and late game, it's super OP. But yeah, I think C+ for HRE in my opinion. Next civ we'll be talking about is going to be, there's a lot of civs here that I still don't know where to put. We'll talk about Rus. Now, it feels wrong putting Rus next to Ottoman, because I think Ottoman is stronger than Rus. So maybe we'll need another tier. Kick W. Now, we'll put Rus in S tier. I think Rus in, the reason why Rus is S tier is very simple. It's not that the civ is OP, it's just that it has no counters, except, in my opinion, Ottoman is really good against Rus. But other than that, I don't think Rus has bad matchups. Like, there's no matchup where I'm like, ooh, Rus versus this, I'm in trouble. You know, it just, whatever you're playing against, it's alright. It doesn't really matter. It can be played anywhere, and that's one big strength at the top level play. Whereas Ottoman maybe can't be played at every single map, so we'll go for that. The next civ we'll be talking about is a surprising one, but I think English is A tier. Now, I'll explain why English is A tier. English in the current meta, and obviously the meta has been changing. There's been nerfs, there's been buffs, you know, there's been a lot of things happening. English is actually pretty good into civilizations that try to castle rush because of longbows, and because you can put pressure on the gold very easily. You can also open men-at-arms against castle rush civs, and the castle rushing is very popular right now. The Ottoman can do castle rush, obviously HRE, OTD, Japanese can do castle rush, you know, Ayyubid can do castle rush, and a lot of the civs in the current meta are very dependent on the gold and not so much the stone, so there's not much 2TC plays. But even if you want to 2TC against English, I feel like you're just suiciding. Like, it's just not gonna work. So even if you're playing a civ that's 2TC against English, you're probably gonna die at the top level. Because English can just keep massing units, and as long as you're not bleeding units left and right, you'll be able to put a lot of pressure on your opponents. And I've actually seen it in the last tournament peak quite a bit and almost win all the games that I've seen people play. I don't know how many games exactly, maybe you know, they had like 50% win rate, but the games that I watched seemed pretty convincing and seemed pretty good. The civs that I would say English is not good against is like Rus, Malian, maybe Delhi. But other than that, English I think is great into China, it's great into Jushi's Legacy, it's great into Ottoman. Not so great against Delhi, but I think it's more even than it used to be. It's great against Ayyubids. I think it counters a lot of civs that are meta right now. So like for the quality of the civ, I would maybe give it a B tier. But I feel like in the current meta, because of the civs that are being played, I would give it an A tier, but you kind of have to be careful where you pick it. if that makes sense. Like, you don't want to run English into Rus or, civ that potentially kind of counters it. But I think English is very solid right now. And similar to Rus, it doesn't really have counters, which I think is why it's pretty good. The next civ we'll be talking about is going to be Byzantines. I think Byzantines is just wild right now. I don't know if I would put it in S tier yet. Maybe I should make another, like, S+. I think it's really strong. I've been saying this for a while. I've said this for the past 2.5 months. Once people learn how to play Byzantines, once it receives some changes, it's going to be busted. And I think it just continues to be better and better. And I can see the next time I make this tier list, even without any changes, I can see it being an S tier civ. It's really strong, and it is not going to become any weaker anytime soon. The next civ we'll be talking about is going to be Jeanne d'Arc, and I'm just not feeling Jeanne d'Arc anymore, I gotta say. This civ used to be very strong, and I just don't think it's that strong anymore. It's still getting a lot of picks, but I think it lost most of the matches in the tournament that it has played. And the nerf going from level 2 to 3, the HP nerf, is quite a lot. I mean, she got nerfed 25% on damage and health, which is a shit ton, right? It's not a little bit. And her companions got nerfed. And I've played her recently. I've played against Jeanne d'Arc recently. It just doesn't feel that great anymore. Maybe the meta is going to change and she's going to become more macro-oriented civ. But this kind of style where you're going like fast attacking and like fight, level 3, game over, I don't think it's a thing anymore. I'm gonna be honest. I think that's dead. Yeah, I think 2TC is probably going to be the meta with JD in the future. Right now, it's alright. Next civilization we'll be talking about... Actually, I want to make another tier. This is a world first. I've never made this many tiers before. I'm gonna have to do it like this. Because of the next civilization. And the next civilization might be a surprise. But I think this civ is wild. I think this civ is good. I think this civ deserves an S tier. And it is Delhi. I love Delhi. I think Delhi is so strong. And the reason why it's so strong is very simple. It's potentially one of the strongest civilizations in feudal age, and at the pro level play, at the top level play, it can put so much pressure on your opponent, and sometimes it can even end the games immediately. Like, if you're playing against, JD and you kill like 2 knights with Delhi, any civ that plays against Delhi, if you kill like few units for free, you snowball so fast, like so fast, and there's no civ in the game that can match Delhi in unit production in feudal. So any bad fight you take against Delhi just snowballs really hard, and if they hold sacred sites, the game is usually pretty much over. Now Delhi does have 2 counters, pretty big counters I would say, which are China, Jushi's Legacy, and I think JD is still good against Delhi. But other than that, Delhi has really strong matchups. And what's good about Delhi is it's very strong against Ottoman, because it can put so much pressure early on against Ottoman that it can deny them from doing whatever they want to do, So, shout out to Delhi. Love Delhi. The next civ we'll be talking about is going to be Malians. Malian gets a solid A tier. I think it's good. I don't think it's OP. Like, people still pick Malian as like first, second, sometimes third pick in tournaments, but I don't think it's that, like, it is strong, don't get me wrong, but it's like, it's not worth the ban. Malian is very map limited, so you can counter it or try to counter it. It's not like Rus, where it's like you don't know where Rus is going to be played. Malian is played on like Cliffside, Dry Arabia, maps like that, and it's very easy in a tournament or at a high level play to predict, okay, the opponent can play Malian here, here, and here. I'm just going to save 3 civs to potentially counter it, and Strong Civ, but not OP. And that's kind of it. Next one we'll be talking about is going to be Ayyubid. Now, this is the one that I'm not sure about. I personally don't play a lot of Ayyubid right now. I do plan to explore it a little bit and to try to figure it out more. Other pro players really love Ayyubid, and Ayyubid has been picked a lot in tournaments. I personally don't think it's that great, but at the same time, like I said, I don't really know because I don't have enough experience as much as some of these other guys that have played. So potentially Ayyubid is like an A tier Civ, but I'm gonna put it at B tier. Yeah, but you know, I can see it being here too, right? Maybe I just don't have enough experience with them, or I don't have proper point of view, but I don't think it's like that or something. But I think it's a competitive Civ, but it kind of comes down to more to a style. I don't think everyone plays it, right? And last but not least, China. Where is China? Chat. China number one? Not quite. China, in my opinion, is A tier. I think China is better now than Jushi's Legacy. So I've talked about this on my stream. I think that China used to be like the siege version of Jushi's Legacy, and Jushi's Legacy used to be the, you know, the faster version, the infantry, the more units, the faster economy version of China. So China used to be like slower, more defensive Civ, and then Jushi's Legacy used to be like massing units, sending units everywhere, you know, attacking, palace guard spam. And that is still the case, right? That is still the case between Jushi's Legacy and China. But that gap in economy, that Jushi had way better eco, that gap is kind of smaller now. And if I had to pick whether, like, if I had to play China or Jushi right now, I would probably play China. Yes, your economy is a bit slower, and yes, you cannot pump as many units, but China got a massive buff. And you guys know what that buff is? The Springhold nerf. If you guys don't know, Clockwork Nest of Bees used to take 3 Springhold shots to kill. Now Clockwork Nest of Bees takes 4 Springhold shots to kill. Think about that. You need 4 Springholds to kill 1 Nest of Bees. That's a lot, you know? And if you are playing China and you're spamming Palace Guards and you have 4 or 5 Nest of Bees, the opponent needs like 10 Springholds to deal with your Nest of Bees, which is a lot. And then you can just run up and kill all their Springholds. So I feel that the China siege became even stronger. So yeah, I think that, you know, the whole China playstyle of leaning into siege and Nest of Bees just got better. They also received a small buff where their Imperial Official is now 70 food, 35 gold, which is not massive, but it is a buff, right? Basically, if you make 3 Imperial Officials from your Imperial Academy, you kind of have an upgrade for free. Think of it that way, because you're going to be saving, not a full upgrade, but you're going to be saving like 90 food and 45 gold, which is almost a little upgrade. You know, so it's like a mini eco buff, right? So that's what I think about the tier list. Like I said, Ayyubid could potentially be higher. I think Byzantine will go higher into S tier. Other than that, I think this looks pretty good. Mongol potentially maybe higher, but I don't think so, because it doesn't. It's very spawn dependent, depending where your trade is on a lot of the maps. So there it is. YouTube gamers, I hope you enjoyed this tier list. I hope you learned something new. Reminder, warning, this is for top tier level gameplay. This does not impact your games in Gold League, Platinum League, Diamond League, or even Conquer 1 League, right? This does not impact your ladder ranks at all, okay? Thank you very much. YouTube gamers, thank you so much for watching once again. Check me out on YouTube. I'm probably live right now. Twitch gamers, let's keep going.